Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm doing a book review of the Commonwealth Saga by Peter F. Hamilton. The Commonwealth Saga is a duology. The two books that comprise it are Pandora Star and Judas Unchained. They are both very large books, at least in the edition that I have, and they are a combined total of 2,400 pages. So if you don't like big books, then basically there's not much point in you watching further than this, because these are really big by pretty much anybody's standards. This is a science fiction grand space opera duology set in, as the name suggests, the Commonwealth universe. This is a universe that was first used in these two books. It has since been used in another trilogy, the Void trilogy, which I actually have on the shelf behind me, which I've actually read before these ones, despite the fact that the Void trilogy is actually set well over 1,000 years later. And it is a very interesting and very large and complex universe with an awful lot of characters and things going on. Hamilton does not do small scale things. All of his books generally are on an absolutely massive scale. I mean quite a literal astronomical scale, with all over the place, with characters all over the place. Normally the events are fairly sort of world defining or universe defining, as the case may or may not be, and this is a type of writing that works for me, but I know it doesn't always work for everybody, because the sheer amount of things going on can be confusing at times, and indeed at times even I'm struggling to keep up with what character is where and how characters are linked and what they are doing to each other and what effect they have on each other. So before I talk about the plot, I want to actually talk about the setting. This is set in the Commonwealth universe. The year is 2380, and basically humanity has sort of started to colonise the galaxy, and indeed started to slowly think about colonising much larger and much further away points of space. Indeed, there are a few planets that are actually much further away and far outside our own galaxy, but not too many of them yet. Now, this is all to do with the fact that humanity has managed to get wormhole technology. They can create wormholes from one location to another with obviously very advanced and very exotic technology, and then they can get essentially like a portal where you can just walk in as though it was a normal door, almost. And indeed, you have trains running through these wormholes, which I love the idea of a train driving along one train track, going through a wormhole, and then appearing on another train track on another planet on the other side of the galaxy. I just love that idea. I digress. So then, on to the plot. The plot is actually quite simple, at least to start with, and I can't say too much today because I'll give away far too many spoilers. But it starts off with, there are two stars called Dyson Alpha and Dyson Beta, a very long way away from Earth and the Commonwealth galaxy. They are about 400 light years away or more. Really is a long way, even with their wormhole technology. That is a long distance. And all of a sudden, the light from these two stars is suddenly just winks out of existence instantly, in like a fraction of a second. An astronomer happens to be looking through his telescope, unsurprisingly, and he realises that these two stars didn't just slowly die over time as though they were going nova or turn into a red giant or something. They just merely switched off or covered up. The Commonwealth does not have the technology to completely block out the sunlight from an entire star, let alone two of them. So basically, people get very worried that there's something happening at these two stars, whether it's a natural phenomenon of some kind, or whether it's some kind of alien race, of which there are several others in the Commonwealth. Obviously, a mission to investigate is approved, and a team goes in a spaceship to look at what is causing these stars to suddenly apparently not be there or be blocked out. And that's as much as I can say, because of course spoilers would be pretty severe, and the plot is extremely complex and extremely long. What I can say about the plot though is there's lots of different ideas going on. Start with, they've even got the technology to go to the star, because due to the wormhole technology, their spaceship technology is actually less advanced, because they've been relying on wormhole technology for so long that there hasn't been much of a importance on making starships or spaceships, so they have to work on that, go and investigate. There are multiple other plot lines going on as well, and at first, immediately, it can seem as though some of the plot lines are almost completely random and irrelevant to the main storyline, but everything does tie up slowly in the end. That's Hamilton's way of writing. He starts off with dozens upon dozens of little threads, and then they slowly build and intertwine and make a plot that you have to think about, because there's so much going on and so many characters. Like, it can take a good bit of memory to actually remember where everybody is and how they interact, but it builds up really interesting, and it really does build up in a very deep manner, which I personally like. Although I know some people have an issue with the sheer length, and in some ways some people consider it to be quite slow, which it isn't slow for me personally, but I can understand why people think these books are slow, because they take a while to get where they're going. So next, on to the characters. Obviously, as you might expect from a grand space opera of this sheer size, there is a very large amount of characters. There are dozens of big characters within the book, and hundreds of smaller characters. I mean, the sheer cast list overall is pretty enormous, actually. Over the course of 2 books, most of the characters are developed and explained really, really well. Some of them obviously are not, because in some cases they're just not needed to. Suffice to say, there are lots of good characters, lots of bad characters, and an awful lot of grey characters that are just there to try and basically do their own thing. They just want to live their life, preferably with as little interference as possible, and you'll be left alone by governments and everything, all the political things that are going on. An issue that I know some people find with these books, and one that I can understand, although it's not an issue for me personally, is that sometimes Hamilton will have a chapter in the middle of multiple other chapters that seems almost out of place. Like, the setting and the character will seem quite unusual compared to what you've just read and what you then expect to read afterwards. And it can almost put a bit of a sort of speed bump in your reading of the book, because it really does feel out of place briefly. But these sections, whilst odd, and I'm quite happy to say that, do work out in the end. Normally though, these odd chapters are almost like long haul chapters where they only make sense towards the very end of the second book, in fact, in several situations. But they are interesting ones, and ones that you really couldn't do without, despite being unusual. So, in summary, these are a grand space opera with a very noticeable emphasis on the grand part, because there are lots of characters, lots of settings, and the plot is truly epic and world-defining, or multiple world-defining, actually, as the case may be. And there are books that I love, and I really like Hamilton's writing style myself, but I know that his style doesn't always work for everybody. It seems to be quite hit or miss from what I can tell, and from what I've talked to other people about. So just keep that hit and miss thing in mind, and if these sound interesting, then you might want to try one of them, and if it works, good. If not, then certainly pick up second, because they are very similar and they do follow on very, very closely to one another. And with that said, that is it for this review. So if you've read these 2 books, or you would like to read them, then please leave me a comment below and we can have a conversation. All my social media links can be found in the description box below as well, as they always are. And with that said, that truly is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.